My name is Elaine Porter. And 13 years ago, my only son decided I wasn't good enough for his new life. No phone calls. No visits. Not even a Christmas card. It was as if I had died. Then last week, after news spread that I'd become a millionaire through my investment firm, he appeared at my front door with his wife Sloane. 2 designer suitcases. And a smile that didn't reach his eyes. As your son, he said, I'm entitled to some of this. We're moving in. You've got all this extra space anyway. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I simply walked to my desk, opened a drawer, and placed a thick envelope on the table between us. His smile faltered the moment he saw the legal seal in the corner. This, I told him quietly, is the second mortgage on your house. The one you and Sloane have been behind on for 3 months. I bought it last Tuesday, which means, technically, I own your home now. Sloane's face drained of color. Derek froze. I leaned back in my chair, calm as still water. You came here to talk about what you're entitled to, I said. Fine. Let's talk about ownership, responsibility, and what family really costs when you stop paying the debt. Then I smiled. Let's begin. Derek sat on the edge of my sofa like he owned the place. One ankle crossed over the other, trying too hard to look calm. Sloane perched beside him, her tone syrupy sweet as she said, Elaine, family should always take care of each other. We just want to make sure you're safe now that you have more responsibility. Responsibility, I repeated, pouring coffee into my cup. Is that what you call it when you show up uninvited to move into someone's house? Derek chuckled. But it sounded forced. Come on. Mom, you have everything you ever wanted now. I'm your son. Of course I'm entitled to be part of that. Family shares. Right. I let the silence stretch long enough for their confidence to settle. Then I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out my checkbook. Their eyes followed every movement. I wrote slowly, letting the pen hover over the line. Let's test that theory. I said, if I write a check for $25,000 right now, will you both take it and leave? Sloane's perfectly shaped lips parted in surprise, but her eyes betrayed the quick flicker of greed. Derek leaned forward, pretending to think. We couldn't accept such a large amount, he said, voice trembling just slightly. I closed the checkbook with a sharp snap. Thank you, I said evenly. You've just proven this isn't about family. It's about access. Sloane's face hardened. Derek swallowed. I smiled as I set the checkbook aside. Good. Now that we understand each other, let's move on to evidence. I reached for the thick folder sitting beside my chair. The label on the spine read simply, Morgan Report. When I opened it, the rustle of paper filled the silence. Derek's eyes followed every movement, and Sloane's fingers tightened around her coffee cup. I had a private investigator look into your situation, I said, keeping my tone level. Standard procedure. When unexpected visitors arrive, demanding access to assets. The first document slid across the table, 3 credit card statements. All maxed out. Interesting pattern, I said. Each one opened under a different business alias. Each one charged to personal expenses. Next came a set of emails. 8 months. I continued. That's how long your so-called consulting firm has operated without a single legitimate client. Yet you've been paying yourself a full salary. Derek's face drained of color. He started to speak, but I raised a hand. And about that business partner you claim, embezzled company funds Caleb Morgan. The district attorney's office has his report. It says the opposite. You were the one moving money into personal accounts before accusing him. Sloane blinked rapidly, trying to recover. That can't be true, she said softly, but there was no conviction in her voice. Oh, it's very true, I replied. There's an active investigation for commercial fraud, and Caleb has provided every document to back it up. The air thickened between us. Derek leaned back, jaw tight, trying to find a version of the truth that could save him. I didn't give him the chance. You wanted to discuss entitlement, I said. Let's start with the fact that your debts, your lies, and your fabricated business are now part of a public record. The DA hasn't decided whether to press charges yet, but I wouldn't schedule any long vacations. Sloane's cup clattered against the saucer. I let the sound linger. I turned another page in the folder, this time sliding a printed screenshot across the table. The logo at the top read, Help Derek Heal Fund. I watched Sloane's eyes flick down, then dart away. This was your idea, wasn't it? I asked quietly. A private fundraising campaign for Derek's medical treatments. Except Derek never had the illness you described. And none of the donations ever reached a hospital. Sloane opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her voice, when it came, was thin. That money was meant to stabilize the business until our next contract. By lying to relatives and friends, I interrupted. Every contribution went straight into your shell company's account. I traced each transfer. I tapped the paper with my finger. The same account you used for what you called consulting dinners with Gavin Rhodes. Derek frowned. Who? Sloane's face froze, the color fading fast. I pulled out the next page, a hotel invoice, followed by a string of text messages, time-stamped between midnight and 2 a.m. Your angel investor, I said. The one who promised to help expand your event firm in exchange for a very personal partnership. My investigator retrieved these from your deleted phone backup. Sloane stood up, trembling. That was business, she whispered. Then you must be running a very intimate business, I replied. Dinner at the Fairmont, Suite 204. 2 nights billed under your company card. You even charged the champagne to the same account you told your donors was paying for Derek's medication. The room went still. Derek's expression shifted from confusion to horror as realization dawned. I let the silence settle. Heavy and sharp. You didn't just exploit my name, I said finally. You turned illness into profit and loyalty into currency. So tell me, Sloane, was that part of your business plan? Or did it just happen to feel convenient? The grandfather clock began to chime in the hallway. Either way, I said. Time's up for lies. The clock in the hallway struck 5, each chime slicing through the silence like a metronome of consequence. I placed a sealed envelope on the table. The letterhead bore the insignia of the Denver District Attorney's Office. Alongside the signature of Caleb Morgan's attorney, Caleb has given you until 5 p.m. Today? I said evenly. That's less than 2 hours from now. He's willing to negotiate restitution if you contact his lawyer and agree to cooperate. If not, the district attorney will file charges for commercial fraud and false reporting. Derek's face tightened, his jaw twitching. You can't be serious, he said. I'm entirely serious, I replied. Fraud? Misappropriation of funds. Falsified statements, it's all there. And after what I've seen from your accounts, I doubt you'll survive discovery. Sloane's voice cracked. You're enjoying this? I met her gaze without flinching. No. I'm reminding you that reality doesn't bend to charm or family titles. You wanted to talk about what's fair, Fair means facing what you created. The letter sat between us like a loaded weapon. Derek's hands trembled. His eyes darted to the envelope as if it might detonate. The DA's office expects a call before the deadline. I continued. If you stay silent, they'll interpret it as refusal to cooperate. After that, there will be warrants, asset freezes, and very public humiliation. So yes, you still have a choice, but not for long. I folded my hands and looked from Derek to Sloane. I suggest you spend the next hour deciding whether you prefer prison bars or responsibility. I leaned forward, folding my hands together, the calm in my voice sharper than any shout. You want my help, I said. Then you'll get it, but only on my terms. I'm not interested in rescuing anyone. I'm offering you a structured way to start over. 3 conditions. Break 1. And I'll make sure the DA has every document before sundown. Neither of them spoke. Derek's eyes were fixed on the folder. Sloane looked like she wanted to vanish into the sofa. First, I said, you'll contact my attorney, Marisa Cole. She specializes in bankruptcy and debt restructuring. I'll cover her retainer. But she works for me, not you. You'll meet her tomorrow morning and begin formal restitution proceedings. She'll file your cooperation statement with the DA's office. Second, I continued, you both start individual therapy, 12 sessions each. Not couples therapy. Not image management. You'll work on understanding how you became the kind of people who exploit family trust. My attorney will verify attendance before any financial assistance continues. Sloane's mouth tightened, but she said nothing. Third, I said, sliding a notepad across the table, you'll draft a written plan for repayment. Every dollar you took from relatives, from donors, from your former partner will be repaid over time. I don't care how long it takes. And you will issue written apologies to every person involved. Signed, dated, and witnessed. Derek's voice cracked. That could take years. Exactly, I said. That's how long it takes to rebuild integrity. You've spent years destroying it. Now you'll spend years repairing it. The room stayed silent, except for the faint ticking of the clock. Then I added, if you refuse any part of this, I'll proceed with foreclosure on your house and deliver every file I own to the district attorney. Those are your options. Redemption or exposure. Choose carefully. I stood and walked to my desk. Opening my laptop, on the screen, an unsent email waited addressed to my sister, Ruth Porter, and copied to several family members and close associates. Attached were the same documents now sitting on my coffee table, the fraudulent statements, the false fundraiser records, and the correspondence from the district attorney. You think this is just between us? I said, my tone steady. But I've already drafted an email to our family network. If you reject the agreement I offered, this message goes out tonight. Everyone who ever lent you money, hired you, or trusted you will know exactly why they shouldn't again. Sloane's face went gray. You wouldn't do that, she said. But her voice wavered. Try me, I replied. Ruth warned me this day would come. She's already amended her will. Your names were removed last month. You can thank 13 years of silence for that. The realization hit Derek like a blow. His shoulders slumped, his hands trembling in his lap. Do you understand what this means? I asked quietly. If this email goes out, it won't just cost you money. It'll cost you reputation. No more clients for your firm. No more corporate events for Sloane's agency. One forward, and the life you built on appearances collapses. The room felt smaller, the ticking clock louder. I closed the laptop but kept my hand resting on it. I don't need revenge, I said softly. I just need accountability. And I'm giving you one last chance to earn it before I press send. Derek rubbed his temples, the weight of it all pressing down. We can't fight this, he whispered. It's over. His voice cracked on the last word. For the first time all afternoon, there was no arrogance left in him, only fear. Sloane stared at the floor, her painted nails trembling against her knee. If we pay everyone back, if we sign what you're asking, she said quietly, we'll lose everything. I met her gaze without pity. No, I said, you'll lose the illusion of everything. What you'll gain is something real self-respect. Derek nodded slowly, the words breaking through. I'll do it, he said, barely above a whisper. I'll cooperate with the DA. With your attorney? I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of pretending this is someone else's fault. It was the first honest thing he'd said since stepping into my house. I took a deep breath and reached for my phone. Then here's how we'll start, I said. I'll authorize a wire for $25,000. It goes directly to Marissa Cole's trust account. Not to either of you. She'll allocate half to your legal fees and half to debt counseling. No cash. No shortcuts. They both nodded, beaten but finally listening. Before I ended the conversation, I looked straight at Derek. One last question, I said. If I hadn't become wealthy, if I were still living in that tiny apartment, would you have come back? The pause was long, and then quietly, honestly, he said, no. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The tension in the room felt almost sacred, like something was finally breaking open. I looked at Derek, his shoulders sagging, his eyes fixed on the floor. Thank you for telling me the truth, I said quietly. That's a start. But understand something, Derek. I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I trust you. He lifted his head, confusion flickering across his face. Forgiveness is for me, I continued. It's the only way I stop carrying 13 years of resentment. But trust, that's yours to rebuild. And it will take time, consistency, and honesty. No promises, no speeches, just work. Sloane nodded stiffly, her voice barely a whisper. We'll prove it. I stood and gathered the papers into a neat stack. Then we begin tomorrow. Marissa will expect you both in her office by 10 a.m. She'll walk you through the legal process and the first steps toward restitution. Therapy appointments will be set by the end of the week. You'll send me confirmation for each one. Derek swallowed hard. We'll do it. Good, I said, because if you fail to follow through, I'll send everything to the district attorney, to Ruth, to every person you deceived. I'll give you the chance to change, but I won't risk being hurt again. Then I exhaled, slow and steady. Forgiveness is freedom. But trust, I said, that has to be earned. 2 years passed quietly, though the consequences of that afternoon echoed for much longer. Derek completed every requirement the court and my attorney set. He paid back his debts piece by piece, signing each transfer with hands that no longer shook. The district attorney closed the investigation after full restitution was confirmed, and Caleb Morgan accepted a formal apology in writing. Sloane ended her partnership with Gavin Rhodes soon after. The affair unraveled publicly. But instead of running, she took a position managing operations at a small nonprofit that supports victims of financial abuse. She repaid every donation, tied to her false fundraiser, and issued personal letters of apology to every contributor. Ruth and I spoke often, And though Derek remained absent from her will, she agreed to remove the formal family censure. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was peace. As for me, I still wake up every morning in the same house, coffee in hand, watching the light spill across my garden. I am wealthier now, not because of money, but because boundaries, once built, have never felt so sacred. I keep a small notebook on my desk now, its pages lined with names and dates, the debts settled, the apologies made, the promises finally kept. Derek has rebuilt his life on smaller, steadier ground. Sloane has learned the cost of ambition without conscience. Caleb's business thrives again, and Ruth sleeps easier, knowing the family name carries honesty instead of scandal. No one escaped untouched. And that was the point. Actions have echoes, and every echo demands to be answered. Justice, when quiet, lasts longer than vengeance, shouted from a rooftop. Sometimes I take out that old checkbook, the one I snapped, shut the day my son demanded his share. I trace my finger along its cover, then close it again. That sounds sharp. Final still reminds me what power really is. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's fear in prettier clothes. And I've stopped being afraid. The debt is paid. The book is closed. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.